A messy living room isn't just ugly, it messes with your head. You ever walk into a cluttered room and suddenly feel annoyed for no reason? Yeah, that is because your brain sees the chaos and goes, "Welp, guess we're stressed now." So today we are fixing it. Simple tricks, zero nonsense, and I promise, no just buy more storage bins advice. We are going to make your living room look clean, stay clean, and actually feel good to be in. Welcome to AgeWise. Let's begin. Tip number 1, declutter like you mean it. All right, let's be honest. Most people's version of decluttering is just moving crap from one pile to another. Oh, I'll just put this stack of magazines in that basket over there. No, that is not organizing. That is just relocating your mess. Believe it or not, there is an actual group called the National Association of Professional Organizers. That is a real thing, you can Google it. And according to them, over 80% of the clutter in the average home is not because you need more space. It is because you are just bad at organizing. So no, you do not need another trip to the container store. You need less junk. The problem is, we get attached to things that do not actually serve us. That decorative bowl you have not touched in 5 years? That candle that burned out last Christmas but still looks nice? Be honest, if it is just sitting there collecting dust, is it really adding anything to your life? Here is what you do. Take a trash bag and a donation box and set a timer for 10 minutes. Go through your living room and grab anything you do not use, love, or even notice anymore. If you have to hesitate, that means it is clutter. Keep going until that timer runs out. Now here is the real trick. Once you get rid of this first wave of junk, you will start seeing your space differently. Your brain will go, "Wait a minute, this actually feels nice," and suddenly, keeping it clean will not feel like a chore. Try it today and let me know how much junk you pulled out of your living room. Drop a comment below and tell me the weirdest thing you found. And stick around because the next tip, it is the one mistake everyone makes when trying to keep their space organized, and it is ruining your living room. Tip number 2, the one-touch rule. Let me tell you how I used to live. I would come home, drop my keys on the coffee table, toss the mail on the couch, kick off my shoes wherever they landed, and think, "I'll deal with it later." Fast forward 3 days, and suddenly my living room looked like a crime scene. A pile of unopened mail, a remote lost under a throw pillow, a coffee cup that somehow became a permanent fixture. And here is the worst part, I was not some out-of-control hoarder. I was just being lazy in tiny ways that added up fast. That is when I learned the one-touch rule. It is simple. You only touch things once. If you pick something up, you put it back where it actually belongs the first time. Keys? Straight to the key hook. Remote? Right into its tray. Mail? Either open it, toss it, or put it in a designated spot, but never just drop it somewhere random. Once I started doing this, I realized my living room did not magically clean itself. It just never got messy in the first place. And the best part? It takes zero extra effort. You are already touching the stuff. Just put it where it belongs the first time. And speaking of things that will change your life, the next tip is the secret to making your living room look clean even when you have not actually cleaned it. Tip number 3, arrange your furniture like a pro. Most people think cleaning up means just picking up stuff off the floor. But here is a secret. Your living room can look cluttered even when it is technically clean just because of bad furniture placement. According to the American Society of Interior Designers, the way you arrange your furniture has a direct impact on how spacious or cramped a room feels. Too much furniture? The room feels suffocating. Pieces shoved against the walls? It actually makes the space look smaller, not bigger. Here is what you do. Start with the biggest piece of furniture, usually the couch. Instead of pushing it all the way against the wall, bring it out just a little. This creates depth and makes the space feel intentional. Keep pathways clear, especially if you are older and do not want to trip over a poorly placed coffee table. And if the room still feels crowded, you probably have too much furniture. Try removing just one item and see how much more open the space feels. Test this out and tell me in the comments, did rearranging your furniture actually make your space feel bigger? And if you are finding these tips helpful, subscribe to Age-Wise for more no-nonsense advice on keeping your home and life in order. Now, if you think furniture is the biggest problem, wait until you hear about the tiny items making your living room look like a disaster without you even realizing it. Tip number 4, control the small stuff before it takes over. You ever notice how the little things are the real troublemakers? Not the couch, not the coffee table. It is the random tiny objects that somehow multiply overnight. Pens, receipts, reading glasses, remote controls, chargers, coasters. That one screwdriver you swear you are going to put back in the toolbox but never do. I used to ignore it. I would tell myself, oh, it's just a few things, no big deal. But then, out of nowhere, my coffee table looked like a junk drawer exploded, and once those little things pile up, they take over the whole room. So here is the fix. Every small item in your living room needs a designated home. A little tray for remotes, a small box for chargers and miscellaneous stuff, a drawer for all those I'll deal with it later items. Because if something does not have a place, guess where it ends up? Everywhere. And if you are wondering why your living room always looks messy even when you clean, the next tip might be the reason. Turns out, most people are making a huge mistake with their decorations. Tip number 5, stop overdoing the decorations. Look, I get it, you like your stuff. Maybe you spent years collecting figurines, picture frames, candles, and little decorative bowls that serve absolutely no purpose. But here is the problem. Too many decorations make your living room look like a thrift store aisle. I once walked into a friend's house and I swear, every surface had something on it. The coffee table was drowning in trinkets. The shelves were packed with knickknacks. Even the windowsills had tiny statues staring at me. And you know what? Instead of feeling cozy, the place just felt cluttered. Here is the trick. Less is more. Instead of covering every inch with decorations, pick a few meaningful pieces and let them stand out. A couple of framed photos? Great. A single statement piece on the coffee table? Perfect. Your collection of porcelain cats taking up an entire bookshelf? Maybe time to downsize. A clean, organized space does not mean boring, it means intentional. And once you declutter the decorations, the next step is keeping it all clean without spending hours doing it. That is where the next tip comes in, and trust me, it will save you a ton of time. Tip number 6, the 10-minute daily reset. Most people wait until their living room looks like a disaster zone before they even think about cleaning. By then it feels overwhelming, so they put it off even longer. Next thing you know, you are spending an entire Saturday trying to fix what could have been handled in 10 minutes a day. According to the American Cleaning Institute, small daily cleaning habits reduce stress and make maintaining a tidy home significantly easier. The trick is simple. At the end of each day, take 10 minutes to reset your living room. Put the remotes back where they belong. Fold the blanket that somehow always ends up on the floor. Throw away whatever random junk has accumulated. Give the coffee table a quick wipe. That is it. 10 minutes. Do it every night, and you will never wake up to a mess again. And here is the thing. Once you get into this habit, cleaning stops feeling like a chore. It becomes automatic. You will walk into your living room, see something out of place, and fix it without even thinking about it. Now, if you are wondering why your living room still feels cluttered even after you clean, the next tip will explain why. Because it turns out the secret to an organized space is not just about what you keep, it is about what you bring in. Tip number 7, the one in, one out rule. I used to have this bad habit. Every time I saw something nice for the living room, a new throw pillow, a cool little lamp, some random decorative bowl, I would buy it without thinking. And at first it was fine, but over time, things started piling up. The shelves got crowded, the coffee table disappeared under nice little accents. The living room started feeling smaller. One day I went to put a new picture frame on the shelf and realized there was literally no space left. That was the moment it hit me. I was just adding, never subtracting. So I made a rule. For every new item I bring in, one old item has to go. Buy a new lamp, get rid of the old one. New book, donate one from the shelf. New blanket, toss the one that has been sitting in a basket for 5 years. It sounds simple, but I will tell you this. Once you start doing it, your home stops feeling like a storage unit and starts feeling like a place you actually enjoy being in. And speaking of things that make your space feel cluttered, the next tip is about something people never think about when trying to organize their living room. But once you fix it, your space will feel instantly bigger. Tip number 8. Let there be light the right way. Most people think clutter is just about stuff. But here is something you probably never considered. Bad lighting can make your living room feel smaller, messier, and even more depressing. According to the Illuminating Engineering Society, lighting affects not only how big a space looks, but also how we feel in it. Dark corners create shadows that make a room feel cramped. Harsh overhead lights can make everything look flat and uninviting. The wrong color temperature, that can throw off the entire mood of the space. Here is the fix. Use multiple light sources. A mix of floor lamps, table lamps, and warm-toned LED bulbs creates depth and makes your living room feel bigger and more inviting. Use soft white or warm light instead of that hospital-style bright white. And if you have heavy curtains blocking natural light, open them up and let the sun do some of the work for you. Try adjusting your lighting and see how much of a difference it makes. And tell me in the comments, what kind of lighting do you use in your living room? Warm and cozy or bright and cool? Now, even with perfect lighting, there is one last thing that can still make your living room feel chaotic, and it is hiding in plain sight. Fix this and your space will feel effortlessly organized every single day. Tip number 9, the power of empty space. There was a time when I thought every surface in my living room needed something on it. If a shelf had an empty spot, I would find something to fill it. If the coffee table looked too plain, I would add another tray, another candle, another little decorative thing that I convinced myself belonged there. But then one day, I cleared off my coffee table just to wipe it down, and for a brief moment it was completely empty. And you know what? It looked amazing. Clean, open, peaceful. That is when it hit me. Empty space is not the enemy. It is actually what makes a room feel balanced. When every inch is covered with stuff, your brain does not know where to focus. But when you leave some breathing room, everything else stands out more. The decor you actually love gets noticed. The space feels more intentional. So now, I make sure every part of my living room has at least one spot that is just open. No clutter, no distractions, just space. And it makes the whole room feel bigger, calmer, and somehow more complete. And speaking of things that complete a space, the last tip is the one that brings everything together, the one that makes sure your living room stays organized for good. Tip number 10, make organization automatic. I used to think keeping a living room organized meant constantly tidying up, like it was this never-ending chore that required daily effort. But then I realized something. The people who always seem to have clean, organized homes, they are not cleaning all the time. They just have systems in place that do the work for them. Here is what I mean. Instead of stuffing blankets into a random corner, have a designated basket for them. Instead of tossing mail onto the coffee table, have a small tray for incoming papers. Instead of scrambling to find the remote, keep it in the same spot every time. When everything has a place, putting things away stops feeling like cleaning and just becomes second nature. The best part? You do not even have to think about it. Your brain just starts doing it on autopilot. And that is when your living room goes from constantly needing to be cleaned to just naturally staying organized. Now take a look around your living room. If it feels like a mess, it is probably because things do not have a real home. Fix that, and suddenly keeping your space neat is not a battle, it just happens. Look, keeping your living room organized is not about turning into some neat freak who folds throw blankets with military precision. It is about making your space work for you instead of against you. A place that feels calm, looks good, and does not stress you out every time you walk in. The best part? It is not even hard. A few smart habits, a little less junk, and suddenly your living room is a place you actually enjoy, instead of a dumping ground for lost remotes, unread mail, and that one sock you keep meaning to take to the laundry. Now, I want to hear from you. What is the one thing in your living room right now that needs to go? Be honest. Is it a pile of old magazines? A decorative bowl full of who knows what? Drop a comment and confess your clutter crime. And if you found these tips helpful, subscribe to AgeWise for more no-nonsense advice on keeping your home and life in order. Thanks for watching, and remember, an organized home is just a few good habits away.